Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. The word of God says, Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18, but thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, and that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. The wisest king does not miss his words in his report. And he reports in Ecclesiastes chapter number 10, reading on verse 19. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 19, and the word of God says, a feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. A feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. Colleagues, the conversation about money is a crucial conversation. And none of us is actually exempted from this conversation about money. Now, the conversation about finance is broken down into three different levels. There is finance at corporate level. There is also what we call, finance for small and medium enterprises. And there is finance at, individual level. This is actually called personal finance, right? So I've said the first level, the higher level is finance at corporate level. That's, financial management for corporations, for companies, for public limited companies. Then there is finance for small and medium enterprises. And we also have got what we call, personal finance or finance at individual level. I want to quickly make mention that in this conversation, I have not been engaged to talk about the first two, but I just want us to focus on, personal finance, to be specific, financial discipline. Now, at the center of financial discipline lies financial planning. And we do know that there is no conversation that can be held about financial planning without talking about a scientific approach to financial goal setting. We also have a conversation on scientific approach to budgeting, to savings and investment. We are not excused in this conversation from talking about, the 5 laws of money. And this serves as kind of an outline in our conversation. We will begin by talking about the scientific approach to goal setting, then, of course, financial goal in that matter. We will also look at, scientific approach to budgeting, and we will not just end there. We will also consult even the spirit of prophecy here, what is being said about this conversation. And finally, we will close the conversation by looking at, the 5 laws that guide, money and wealth building. Now, financial goals. A financial goal is basically a goal whose attainment requires finance. Simple. It requires funds. A goal that, you cannot achieve without involving finance. You can only achieve that goal if you engage finances, or you engage money, you engage finances. Now, there are different categories, of what we call financial goals. We can group the financial goals in those that we revolve around our education and knowledge acquisition. As long as we need to spend money, that's a financial goal. You can make a financial goal about accommodation, right? Or finding where to stay, a financial goal about a home. To the students who may be majority of the people now listening, they may be part of the people listening in this conversation. You have to prepare, for example, about the life, what will happen after graduation. You know, you are still a student, you do not really know what is going to happen about, after your graduation, you don't know. And you are thinking in your head, what is it that is going to happen? And at that point, then it becomes very incumbent that you continue planning towards that particular time. When that time comes, when you are going to graduate, before you find a job or before you start doing something there, what is your plan? What are you going to do? Some people come from, deep, deep villages, such that when we mention the names, none of us might have even heard of such, villages. And somebody is there, in town, learning from, a highest learning institution or from a higher learning institution somewhere there, they're acquiring higher education. And so they do not want to go back maybe to villages immediately they are done in school, with the school. It becomes very important at that point that they consider then, planning for that time. It is as simple as starting exploring where would they want to stay? What kind of life would they want to lead? How much does it cost to lead such a life? The earlier one starts thinking about that, the better. And you can make a financial goal towards the same. Food, or groceries. One could make a financial goal around that. Transport, you can make a financial goal around that. You prepare for the bus fares. You prepare for fuel. You can make a financial goal. Those that use Yango, you can also prepare maybe for Yango, how much you're going to be spending for Yango. And you make just these goals. You could have a goal on health and insurance, preparing for unforeseen circumstances. One day you may just wake up, you feel you are not okay. You may need to spend some money for your health, for you to get whole, to be fine. And it's very important that you consider insurance and you start paying set a financial goal towards the same. There are those that we call unique goals. And these unique goals could be, those goals that are very special goals like traveling, buying some assets. You want to buy a plot, you want to buy a house, you want to buy whatever you want to buy. Those are very unique goals. Someone wants to buy a boat, someone wants to buy a private jet, someone, all those unique goals, they really help you to experience and enjoy life, even though those you need to budget for them. Now, let me talk about the performer for the financial goal. A financial goal has 3 key things that must be there in them. Number one, it is clarity. A financial goal is supposed to be very clear. It has to be very clear, direct, and very specific. Be clear about what you want. As it stands, if you are not clear, you fail to be clear in what you want, chances are very high, and research has actually divulged that you're most likely not to achieve your goals because you do not have clarity. You don't actually know what you want. Number two, a goal is set to be, to have a strategy, right? A strategy is basically an action plan on how you are going to achieve that goal you have set. Each goal is supposed to have a strategy in it. If it is clearly and well written, it is supposed to have a simple strategy. Brief, tell us what methods, what techniques, how are you going to achieve that goal? And finally, a goal is supposed to have time scale. Like really, there should be specific time that is set. Okay, we want to achieve this goal for this period of time or after this period of what? Period of time. Let me give you a sample of an education goal, one example of such a goal and how it should actually read. I'm giving you an education, all right? And it is reading. By the year 2027, I would have saved 150,000 towards my, education, towards my master's degree or my whatever PhD or something, just for an example. By doing what? By saving or putting aside every month 5,000 kwacha. Or by setting aside every month 10,000 kwacha. By the year 2027, on 15th of February, I will have achieved this amount. Okay? You hear how clear this goal is. We know what we want. We want the money, for maybe a master's degree. You want the money for a PhD, or you want money for whatever thing. This is just an educational book, for example, that I'm giving you. And then after being clear, there is a strategy. Someone is going to be putting aside a certain amount of money, or they are going to be putting aside maybe 200 kwacha or whatever amount, depending on the size of the goal that they want to really achieve. And they have told us how they are going to be doing this so that they are able to achieve what they achieve. Right? Another one, maybe on accommodation. Okay. Another one, maybe on accommodation. By the year 2035, on 15th of June, I would have built my 3-bedroom house. By setting aside, okay, a 7,000 kwacha every month, starting from the next month on the 15th of next month, you set them. Okay? It is very clear. We know what we want exactly. We know how we are going to do it. And we have put a strategy, and the time frame is there. All right? So basically, this is about the financial goals. Now, financial goals are very crucial. They're very important because they're the ones that help us, to form budgets. Budgets are formed usually against these financial goals. Okay? Now, let's talk about budgeting. About budgeting. Budgeting basically is an estimate of expenditure and revenue. Research has actually shown that most people, when they are budgeting, they just focus and spend, most of their time looking at expenditure, what they're going to buy, what they're going to do. But people do not understand that budgeting involves also budgeting for sources of income. It begins by, number one, identifying the sources of income. Where exactly are you going to get the money? It's very important. And right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a sample budget. I've said, number one, it begins by identifying the sources of income. What sources of income do you have? Name them and show us what your projected income is from each of those sources in the next month. You are expecting to receive how much from each of those sources. If you have one source, please write the name of that source and how much you're going to receive. Let me, quickly show you a sample budget that I will use to explain most of the things that I'll be talking about. And I'm quickly sharing the screen that you may see an example of such a budget, right? Let me give you a sample budget. Here you are. This is our sample budget, right? Number one, it starts with the projected income from different sources of income. This is an example. People may be earning different, amounts. Others may be earning even higher than these amounts, or even way lower than these amounts, less. Okay, you can just put your incomes. The idea is that you should understand that number one, you have to see the sources, mention the sources, how much you are expecting from the source before you even start bringing, expenditure. So this is how you do it. Number one, on top, if you check this format, shows that this person has had these sources of income. They have they receive some money from UNZA Institute of Distance Education, 12,000 kwacha, for example. They get some amount from Amazing Excellence Institute of 8,000. They do some consultancy, and they were expecting for the month of November 5,000 from that. And they expected some money from Zambian Institute of Chartered Accountants, Zika, of 60,000. And there is income 5, income 6, just like that. You can keep on mentioning all your incomes and how much you are projecting. After that, you total. So this shows you how much you're expecting towards the end of the year, or of the month. At the end of the month, this is what you're going to have. Afterwards, now, there is an actual monthly income column. This is where you show us exactly what somebody got from this particular expenditure, We want to see what somebody got. How much did someone get from UNZA Institute, Institute of Distance Education? How much did you get? Okay, when you receive the amount, you write the actual amount, because there is projected and actual. And then once you have your actual amount here, you write your actual amount. Then you're going to have your what? What are you going to have? You will have your expenditure. This is where you have your spending or breakdown of your expenses. There is a projected amount to be spent, and there is the actual one again, right? So this budget is made before you even have the money, all right? You have to project. We are projecting to pay rent, let's say 1/8. Someone is projecting to pay for groceries, 900 kwacha, all right? You can put whatever amount. Somebody was also expecting to get some money on transport, for we don't know where they usually go to, but you consolidate how much you're going to spend for that month as total transport. Maybe they are going to town every day or 3 times in a week. They just pay 10 kwacha or something. Phone and talk time. This is very important. 900. All right. Many people never put on their program talk time, but they find themselves spending, when you consolidate at the end of the month, spending a lot of money just on talk time. We are not saying be stingy or what, or stop calling people. The message we are sending is that be aware of how much you spend. Have a budget. For example, this person had a budget of 900 kwacha on talk time specifically for the whole month. And this is how much they had projected to spend. Data or internet connection. Many people ignore that they use bundles, and yet they spend most of their time online, Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, they are there. They live online. They stay online, but they don't put aside or put on budget how much they're going to spend for bundles. From finance, we say, please be aware how much you're going to be spending on internet every month. At least have the projected amount. Have the projected amount you're going to be paying. Say this person was paying the parent 1,000 kwacha. Okay, this is surely dependent on your budgets. You could be even paying more than that, even less than that, depending on how much someone earns. And they also needed to pay their financial planner. And they had money that was put for once and entertainment, just for once, as a total of 3,000. Now, this money for once and entertainment, this money includes, you want to go out, you eat out, you want to travel, you want to do something. At least they had some money to put aside just for those You don't eat out when you have not planned to do that, right? You do not go out just abruptly because people are going out without planning for that. So it's very important that you put all those things on your budget. This is just projected amount. And then the other column, we have the one for actual. At the end of the period, you're going to put the actual amounts that you're going to spend. All right? This is the actual amount at the end of the day. Then you have the column for variances or differences. Difference between how much you projected or you expected to spend and how much you have spent. All right. This is the projected minus the actual. If you have a positive, that's better because it means what you projected to spend is higher than what you spent. At least you will remain with something. When you have a negative, it means that what you projected is less than the actual expenditure. And at that point, we need to see how to handle these variances. At least the analysis column is this one. That's the one that you use. Budgeting does not just involve, planning how much you're going to spend, what you're going to buy. Even savings, is part of budgeting. You have to save. You save for emergencies. For example, emergency funds. Look at this person, had money for emergencies. And actually now, previously, many people from the studies, they have been saying, the studies have shown that a person needed to save at least not less than 6 months of their total expenditure. You have not heard this one. Let me read. For you to maintain your lifestyle necessities, right? For you to have your necessities, let's say, for example, you spend a 10,000 much. It's just an example. You can use whatever amount you're using. Okay. You spend a 10,000 watch, which means as the money for emergencies, it should not be less than 6 months of this. These are the studies that we used to have in the past. But now, time has gone. With the change of time, at least nowadays, it is emphasized that you have not less than 9 months, at least 9 months of those savings, which means you need 9 times the 10,000. That gives you at least 90,000 saved for emergencies, which means you can stay for 9 months maintaining the lifestyle, right? Getting all the necessities without engaging into active work. So why are we talking about 9 months or 6 months that we're talking about? Because research used to show that it would take someone approximately not less than 6 months for them to get another job when they lose one. But nowadays, it is even becoming worse. So it would take not usually less than 9 months to the average people. Most of people take not less than 9 months. So you need to save for that. If you can even save for the whole year, even the better. So that in between, you can now this year, for 1 year from the time you lose the job, you are able to, find the funds, find the finances, and maybe look for another job or find something else to do. Okay, save for emergencies. You cannot manage to live in this life without emergencies. It's very crucial. At least from whatever you earn, save for emergencies. Whatever amount, start thinking about emergencies. Savings, for example, for school, you can be saving now for these important and unique goals. You're saving maybe for school. You could have savings for investments. You've seen I've put this as specific amount. The projected amount from the total income you have also the amount that is projected just for savings. All right. How much is projected for savings, right? Savings for school, someone who is still in school, savings for emergency funds, savings for investments. What do we mean by savings for emergencies, for investments? Most of the investments require quite, some good amounts of money. So you need to accumulate the funds. Save the money so that at least when the amount grows a bit bigger, you can now invest in something else. So this is what we mean by saving for investments. You can accumulate the funds that are directed at a certain point. That money will be invested into a certain project or something. This is just the projected amount for 1 month. Then next month, at the end of the month, when you receive the money, put the actual amounts you saved, the actual ones, and check the variances, the differences at the end of it all. The guidance is that when you talk about investments, savings, for example, for emergencies, these funds they should be accessible at some point. You know, they should not really be, don't put the savings for emergencies into some accounts that are very hard to reach, where you cannot easily access these amounts. You need to be able to access these amounts as quickly as possible whenever need arises. Now, colleagues and friends, I have already talked about these divisions of our expenditure and our income. Let me guide now the rule that is being used. There is one rule that is used now, which was discovered by Elizabeth Warren in the year 2005. You know, Elizabeth Warren is, a professor at Harvard University Law School. And actually, Elizabeth Warren is one of the giant authors that have written a book. And in this book, this is where you get this rule. The rule about savings and the budgeting, it is the 50-30-20 rule. 50, 50, 30, 20 rule. What is 50-30-20 rule? This one says that 50% of your total income is to be spent on needs. And you know what needs are. I would just basically say those things that you really struggle to live without them. That's a simple definition. So at least from your total income, after-tax income, of course, the after-tax income that you get, divide 50% of that to be spent on needs, all right? And you know what needs are. Then the 30% of it, the 30% of it can be spent on wants. And the last 20 can be spent on savings. Maybe the question is, what really falls under the 50%, the needs? These would include things like accommodation. I have already talked about accommodation, internet connection. Those are utilities, right? Electricity, water bills, groceries, insurance, transport, including debt payment, right? Debt payment, the needs. And then you could come to the ones, those such as maybe eating out, preparing money for charity, okay, giving out money to friends, giving out money to relatives. You have to, I'm not saying it's bad, as long as you're budgeted for that. It's part of the 30%. You have put that as well. Going out for events, traveling, all those, they fall in 30%. And the last 20% is for savings. And what do you save for? I've already said you save for retirement. Plan for retirement. You save for emergencies. You save for those special goals that you're going to have, such as maybe owning a boat and cruising along Lake Bangweuru or Lake Tanganyika up there. You want to own your own boat, or somebody wants to own a private jet, so you can save for these. So this is the conversation, colleagues. Now, before we end this conversation, I want to come to the second last section where I am about to conclude. And I am asking myself the question, what does the spirit of prophecy really say concerning, savings, investments, concerning this conversation in general? What is being said? And I am reading in your hearing. There is a book called Counsels on Stewardship, page 119. And this is what is written. God is testing every soul that claims to believe in him. He has given means to his stewards to be used wisely. not to be squandered or buried in the earth, right? So God is testing his people. When God gives you those resources, is testing also the degree of loyalty you have to him. The same stewardship, 130 page number, money is a gift of God to men to be used with faithfulness, with wisdom, that the blessing of the Lord may rest upon the use of his gifts. So it is very, very important. And I conclude with this one that says, those who have properties, right? Those who love the truth should place their means where it will be working for the salvation of souls, that God's vineyard may be cultivated and the truth may be carried to all parts of the world. This is according to Testimonies for the Church, volume number 1 and page number 170. Now, let's conclude with the 5 laws of money, and you master the laws. You have to master the laws. I will interpret them quickly as we wind up. Number 1, money comes gladly and in increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and that of his family. Law number 1 of money. Money will come gladly and in increasing quantity to any person who will set aside 1/10, that is 10% of his earnings, to create an estate for his future and that of his family. Is law number 1. The summary of this law is that you have to save at least the 10% of your income, because by consistently saving this amount, you will be able to, increase your earnings. The second law of money. Money labors diligently and contentedly for the wise owner, who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field. Money labors diligently and contentedly for the wise owner, who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field. This simply means that you have to invest your savings wisely. Money that is invested intelligently will grow and generate more wealth. That's a conversation. The third law of money. Money clings to the protection of the cautious owner, who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. Money clings to the protection of the cautious owner, who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. What is the summary? You seek advice from knowledgeable and experienced financial advisors. What this does, it ensures that your investments are safe and profitable. Don't just, be hard and just want to do things on your own without seeking counsel. Find out from the people that know and that really are wise in the handling of these conversations. Law number 4 of money. Money slips away from the man who invests in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar, which are not approved by those skilled in its keep. I repeat, money will run away from any man who invests in businesses or purposes which this person is not familiar, or which purposes are not approved by those who are skilled in its handling. What does this mean? Avoid investments in areas where you lack understanding or expertise. Otherwise, money will run away. You have to invest only in the ventures you are knowledgeable about and have been advised by the experts. So we always have financial advisors and gurus in these fields. And finally, the last law of money. Money runs away from the man who would force it to impossible earnings, who follows the alluring advice of tricksters and scammers, who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investments. You didn't get this one. Money will run away from any man who would force it to impossible earnings, who follows the alluring advice of tricksters and scammers, who trust it, to his own inexperience and the romantic desires in investments. In short, be worried about uh, the get rich quick schemes and unrealistic investment opportunities. You hear that you just want to be rich tomorrow. You can invest this money, by tomorrow you'll be rich. No, there's nothing like that. All right? Nothing like that. Protect your wealth that you earned in a hard way. Please protect your wealth from risky and dubious ventures. These laws are extracted from the writings of George Cresson in the book Richest Man in Babylon, that was written in 1926, many years ago. Colleagues and friends, this is the conversation that I wanted to share with us. As for now, I call for questions. Thank you so much.